Good day, and this show just keeps getting better and better. And I'm really glad they're keeping the steam up in this show because episode 3 could easily be, just kind of a generic episode, or they could have made it a filler one, but thankfully it's still keeping the momentum working quite well. So, you've got the Mandalorian. He drops off the Yo Baby with the Imperial, and you can tell that the Mandalorian doesn't really like this. He doesn't really want to give up the Yo Baby because, well, I think he kind of likes him. And he definitely feels some gratitude towards Yo Baby saving him. And I get the feeling that even the Mandalorian is getting his heart melted a little bit by how cute the Yo Baby is. So he goes and gets his reward, which is a crap ton of Beskar, and he takes it to the Mandalorian quarter and gets some fancy new armor made for him. That I don't really like, to be perfectly honest. It's too flashy and looks too action figure-y. I like the more minimalistic approach of the early armor. This just looks it doesn't look silly, it doesn't look bad, it just looks too ostentatious. I kind of like the more basic armor more than anything else, as it gave the Mandalorian more of a threadbare character. So, as you would expect from this episode, the Mandalorian does not want to leave the Yo Baby behind, and he certainly does not. The battle sequences between the Mandalorian and the Imperials are pretty good. The only problem is he completely stomps those stormtroopers, and the stormtroopers can barely put up a good fight at all. I would like to see some strong independent stormtrooper women. But the fact is, the stormtroopers need to have a little more malice than they do. It seems that in every piece of media, they're treated more or less like B-1 battle droids, and they really should be a little bit better than that. The Mandalorian, of course, rescues the Yo Baby, but when he does, all the other bounty hunters come after him, and there is an epic rock-off to the end where he has to fight a whole bunch of bounty hunters, and this is where I'm starting to see that the Mandalorian is a little too OP. He just stomps everything and just starts blasting the crap out of everything. And that's cool, but there needs to be some higher stakes. The Mandalorian shouldn't seem like Mandalorian God. He should actually be in some sort of trouble at some point. In fact, I thought he was going to be captured and someone would have to rescue him, or the Yo Baby would have to rescue him, but he just shoots his way out, which is cool in theory, but we need to feel that he's in some sort of peril. And you just don't really get that. Now, there is a scene where it does seem like he's going to, be taken down by this giant army of bounty hunters, and then the other Mandalorians show up. Now, earlier in the episode, the Mandalorian got into a fight with one of the big badass Mandalorians in the Mandalorian quarter, and you kind of expect that the Mandalorians are going to, excommunicate him because he rescued the Yo Baby. But they don't. They come to his aid, and it is nothing short of amazing. You see all these Mandalorians flying in. They're blowing the crap out of everything. One of them has a plasma chain gun. Oh, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, a plasma chain gun. It was even the asshole who was calling the Mandalorian a coward for taking Imperial Beskar. But overall, it's so cool to see all these other Mandalorians just actually doing something. And they actually do support the Mandalorian rescuing the Yo Baby, which is really quite surprising. This is much more in line with the Karen Travis Mandalorians versus the generic mercenary thug Mandalorians, and I'm really happy to see that. As you would expect, the Mandalorian escapes with the Yo Baby, and that's it. Really, once again, absolutely excellent episode. One of the things I love about this show is we don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea where they're going to take the Yo Baby concept. I don't know what the Mandalorian's going to do with the Yo Baby. And it's really cool to not know. And that's one of the things that is so great about a show that is not a prequel to something or a retelling of something. We don't know how this is going to work out. And so every episode shows a new story. That's why The Mandalorian works a lot better than, say, an Obi-Wan show, because we know what happens to him. We know what happens to Obi-Wan, so there's really no point to showing what he did since we know what's going to happen. But The Mandalorian, we have no idea, and it's just every episode is sort of an adventure in and of itself. The Mandalorians have been changed a little bit for this show. Well, actually changed a lot bit, but they've been changed kind of fundamentally from what they used to be. Now they seem like almost like an armored Jedi Order, so to speak, because it's implied that the Imperials killed a bunch of Mandalorians, possibly bombarded Mandalore, or something along those lines. Something which had never happened in the original EU. And I don't know, it works quite well, because in the original EU, the Mandalorians were kind of incongruous. They were, built up as like this big bunch of badasses, but, well, until around 2006, they never did anything. All you ever saw was Boba Fett. And by 2006, with the Clone Wars, you see that the Mandalorians were really active, but evidently none of what they did mattered, because by the original trilogy and all the sequel work, they weren't doing anything anymore. So I kind of like to see this new take on the Mandalorians. And overall, the show's working quite well, and I still highly recommend watching it. And so I'm GeneralLotz, and I am looking forward to episode 4. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon so that I can continue bringing you this awesome content.